that God's benevolence, God's blessings will not be on Ghana.
Okay, Mami, for some people say that, you know, there has been a series of occurrences. First of all, the changing of the Ministry of Women and Children's Affairs into whatever it's been changed into now, the appointment of Nana Oyelitha and all of that has given birth to this very, you know, serious discussion about homosexuality in Ghana. What are your views on that?
Thank you very much, Nana. This issue is an issue that really bothers most Ghanaians. And it started under the Mills administration. We realized this issue about gayism started. It came up. We wanted to do the president's stance on it. It took the president a long while to be able to break that silence. And you ask yourself, we are talking about a president whose vice, the then John Dramani Mahama, now our president, was part of his administration. The president said he was not in support of it, yet behind the scenes, he had a gay lobbyist as a best pal. You ask yourself, what is going on? You ask yourself, was it the reason why it took the former president so long a time to come out with the truth or to take a position on this? Why would you want, you know, there is something that Ghanaians are, we are a bit we are not bringing into this whole issue. Ask yourself, from what Andrew Solomon said, he said when he saw John Dramani Mahama 8 years ago at a wedding, he liked him. If someone says, I like you, a gay, says he liked somebody, immediately, I mean, that attraction was there. You ask yourself, as a vice, well, then he was a member of parliament. You ask yourself, you know the constitution that governs our land. You know, he says he's a Christian, though I believe everybody can call him or himself or herself a Christian. We have those who really believe in their God. But you ask yourself, as a true Christian, as a member of parliament, this is not just an ordinary friend. A gay lobbyist said he liked you and he made attempt to reach you, yet you did not shun that friendship. You encouraged it. Till now, they are still liking each other. They are still partying everywhere. Till date, Mahama is enjoying the good, fatty, juicy side of Andrew Solomon. And don't forget, there is a saying that goes that nothing comes for free. Will Andrew Solomon invest or be so interested in a friend that is not interested in his side or his negative side? To us, it's negative because we don't accept this. A side that a lot of people do not see as something that is welcoming. Will he just keep investing or keep that friendship if there is nothing so peculiar about that friendship? So, if the friendship had not really grown to that kind of likeness or that kind of attraction he had for John Dramani Mahama 8 years back, if he's not gotten anything out of it, will he keep on, entertaining him in his Manhattan apartment and being part of his book launch? And John Mahama shaking and crying with the little mistake, wanting to speak to Andrew. Oh, my dear Andrew, I'm sorry. Ask yourself. There is something Ghanaians should look out for. Okay. There is something Ghanaians should ask. Why would John Dramani Mahama show so much concern in speaking to Andrew Solomon first than the people of Ghana?
Okay. Now, I want us to raise the issues and look at it one by one. But first of all, we all agree that this issue of homosexuality has become a matter in Ghana and has come to stay. Fine. Now, the question is, what do we do with it? Because the government says that it is opposed to homosexuality. Mr. Andrew Solomon says that the double talk of this administration is not helping matters at all. How do we deal with it too? Ibrahim?
It's interesting, and when I read that for me was alarm bells, Nana. And I'm sure Mami Efia will also, Efwa will agree with me. It rang alarm bells for me, because that statement that the deplorable situation of gays and lesbians in Africa is not being helped by the double talk of President Mahama. Double talk means that you say one thing to me in private and then another thing in public.
And this is what we keep saying, that the NDC government is a government that has double
We
time.
have to sit up,
Even
Nana.
Andrew Solomon is saying this.
I'm glad, Mami, I'm glad you mentioned that the NDC government. It's something wrong with the NDC government. I'll tell you why.
And Andrew knows it.
The Crusading Guide, back in 2005, wrote an article whereby, the new Crusading Guide, whereby they mentioned that as close confidant of President Rawlings, former President Rawlings, the first initial beginning with V, second beginning with S. They didn't want to mention names, for, of course, for libelous reasons. So there, even within the president or former President Rawlings' administration, an issue of gay activity was going on. Secondly, look at the vice president when he went for the vetting. Vice President Mr. Arthur, when he went for the vetting, an issue about his sexual orientation was of issue. But interesting, do you know what he did when he was being vetted? And we can all go to YouTube right now and Google it and see it. He held the Bible in his left hand. And Mr. Arthur, the vice president, anybody can quickly go on Google, Nana, and check it. When he was, he took the Bible in his left hand. We know we use the left hand for dirty things. When he was being sworn in, suddenly he realized his senses and he used his right hand to hold the Bible. I'm just mentioning this for us to understand that this gay issue has not just popped up today. 8 years, President Mahama has had a relationship with this man. 8 solid years.
What for me is interesting is the fact that the Minister of Information came and presented a fact as though it was coming from the president, that the president never knew Mr. Andrew Solomon. It has now come to light that after that revelation, the president called Mr. Andrew Solomon and apologized.
That was what I said.
I take very serious offense at the fact that the president is yet to apologize to the people of Ghana now.
Yeah.
Amifa.
Nana, let me just take you back a bit. There is something that is really going on. I don't know if you've heard it. That Andrew Solomon pushed for the vice president's nomination.
He has denied that.
Well, well, you don't expect Andrew Solomon to just. He's saying we are doing double talk. I mean, and who is he talking to? The vice, the now president, John Dramani Mahama. And you ask yourself, will Andrew Solomon come out with all the truth? We've heard that he pushed for Vice President and Mr. Arthur's nomination. You ask yourself, what is his interest? You know, there was this talk about the Vice President being a gay. And I'm not surprised. When I heard this, I was not surprised. But I'm not saying it is the fact, though. But this is what we are hearing. And Ghanaians are worried. But it is confirming something with the call John Dramani Mahama made to Andrew Solomon. It tells you that he respects the gay lobbyist than any other person in Ghana.
Just to add to that, Mami.
Let me just round up. Look at what was done to, under his caretaker administration, though he's still a caretaker president. Look at what happened. Men of God were being battered left, right, center. Men of God.
Being called criminals in Caucus.
Right. Jesus Christ. The president had no respect. He says he's a Christian. To even call them. To hell the men of God. To hell the people of Ghana. Why do you think, look, this president who is, I still see him as a caretaker president, though. That is my, because I believe my vote is missing. I'm looking for it, so I still see him as a caretaker president. This president we are talking about, till date, has not said a word to the Ghanaians. This president we are talking about, day in, day out, shows, give out his best to the foreigners and give his worst to the people of Ghana. You ask yourself, do we really deserve this? Are we really, you said something that's, a very dull Monday morning. It's not only this Monday, to be honest with you, it's been dull. You can feel there is this dark, thick crowd. Cloud that is really hanging on this country. A dark, thick cloud hanging up there. You can see there is something wrong somewhere. The Black Stars went to play a march. You look at what he said. I'm glad I'm not the one who went and I was the vice president. Yeah, because you two know that what you are doing is not what really pleases God. Go to 2 Corinthians 16:4. He says we should not be of same yoke with people who do not share the same belief with us.
Let me read to you a portion.
If the gays have a right, the armed robbers have a right. If the gays have a right, the prostitutes have a right. Why don't they go out and give prostitutes license to do their job? No, Yelisa. Go out there, give them the license to really do their work. Well, there are certain things we should look out for. We are hearing some cabinet ministers here and there are bisexuals. And don't forget, Andrew Solomon is not just promoting gay and lesbianism, but bisexuals as well.
Okay.
So now, maybe people may think John is interested in women alone. I beg, let's look out. Let's really dig deep. Let's really go down deep, 8 years back, and ask ourselves certain questions, because we really deserve answers. We do deserve answers.
Now, I want us all to address our mind to this. This is a portion of what Mr. Andrew Solomon read. But before, I'll take a break, and then when we come back, we'll discuss the matters. Welcome back to Minority Caucus. Tonight, I just want you to listen to the piece that I'm about to read to you, because some people have argued that social change does not occur in a vacuum. It actually takes a long time. Now, what is happening in Ghana? Is this the genesis of a plan, of a program, or it's just something happening by itself? Mr. Andrew Solomon, in his letter that he wrote, says this, and I'm reading to you. When I first visited India some 20 years ago, the only clearly gay people were destitute and marginalized. On my second trip, in the late 1990s, I met a subculture of a rather soiled gay people, but their faces flashed whenever the thing we had in common was acknowledged. At the Jaipur Literature Festival last month, the gay panel attracted more than 1,000 people who complained of the hideous prejudice they faced in India, but who were emboldened to object publicly to the problem in a tone that anticipated its ultimate resolution. In this piece, Ibrahim, he's saying that changes will occur over time. He succeeded in doing that in India. Do we have to be worried?
Of course.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the fabric of society. If we are, as politicians and as activists, I'm talking generally in Ghana, and what is our calling? Our calling is to make Ghana a more better place, not just for ourselves, but generations yet unborn. Am I right? And now you're having somebody in the form of Andrew Solomon with a nefarious agenda to unravel that very foundation of civility and society. Because what will happen? It's a piecemeal effect, which is why I mentioned that this 8-year relationship is cultivating it for a reason. He sees President Mahama, or John Mahama then, and likes him immediately. He was then an MP.
Yeah.
And then he said, and let me cultivate a relationship. The gays have done this throughout. If you look at Hollywood and look at Sesame Street, children's programs, they make sure that they insert that subculture of what do you call it, homogeneity, whereby you can't really see a particular character, is it a man or a woman. From the children's programs right through to films, whereby homosexuality, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender relationships are being fed to us subliminally through the media. And you know that Hollywood is the playground for the homosexual community. And so, and they've cultivated it by getting to positions of power through the media. Likewise here, you have this cultivation of a relationship with John Dramani Mahama. That's why he's meeting in India. And you're right, Nana. They have an agenda from a point where it's seen as evil to where it is accepted as an identity. And that is why we have to sit up, Ghanaians. We have to sit up because they're attacking our society from the top. I'm talking the vice president whose sexual preferences were highlighted way before he became vice president. So nobody can say that the man, and it was on, I believe Joy FM broke the news on their website. The person, a schoolmate of Vice President Caucus and Mr. Arthur, broke the news of their relationship while he was still governor of the Bank of Ghana. So nobody can say this is some kind of propaganda because he's vice president. No, it was done way before, in January of 2012. That's when it happened. When did President Mills die? July 2012. So you can see that that cultivation is there, and we as Ghanaians, Nana, we have to sit up and make sure that we bring these people to book. How do we bring them to book? Mahami just mentioned earlier on, when you say you have rights, nobody's saying you don't have the right to be homosexual. If that's how you are, that's where you are. But suddenly, they'll want to marry, adopt kids. Can you imagine them going to Tertiary Orphanage, where I'm from, and saying they want to adopt Ghanaian kids, and then Nana Oyelitha will say it's their right?
Of course.
And Mami was quite right. Then give the prostitutes their right. Give the armed robbers their right. Give pedophiles their right. Those who wants to do bestiality, having sex with animals, give them their right. And the moment we fail as Ghanaians or citizens to stand up for God's rights, the Quran is quite clear on what should happen to homosexuals.
Okay.
And if I'll quickly read even the Bible, Leviticus 20:13 says, if a man lies, that is, has sex with a man as he lies with a woman, both of them have done what is detestable. They must be put to death. Their blood will be on their own hands. That is Leviticus. Now, if you want to somehow say the Bible is wrong because human society has developed, I mean, who are you to argue with God? First and foremost, nobody's saying going out and kill gays, but it's telling you,
Christian precedent
yes,
you're talking about.
the act. It's, you know, and I'll quickly land here, Nana. To put out a matchstick is easier than a bushfire. Because God knows that, hold on, the bushfire will destroy society. So better put out that matchstick burning. And that's what we as Ghanaians have to do in terms of making sure we stand up for our rights, human rights, godly rights, and not somehow being cajoled or held to ransom by saying that, no, these are gays, they have rights to do these nefarious activities.
Okay.
We won't tolerate it.
Now, I want to sum up what I believe to be Andrew Solomon's psyche in his letter again. This is what he says. By curious coincidence, this whole matter unfolded while I am in India promoting a book that deals, and now pay attention to this section, that deals in large part with how any condition may go from being perceived as an illness to being lived as an identity. I repeat that. How any condition may go from being perceived to be an illness to being lived as an identity. Clearly, this man thinks that we are wrong. We thinking that homosexuality should remain within the corridors of people's bedrooms is wrong, and that he's actually writing books and introducing them to cultures around the world so that we can accept that it is actually an identity. Should we be worried?
We have to. Even John Dramani Mahama at the IEA encounter said the same thing, that those who believe that gays and lesbians don't have a right should have a rethink. Also, my major concern is something Andrew Solomon said. He said, and I quote, I hope that President Mahama will seize this occasion to take a leadership role. It means the president is looking for an opportunity to take a leadership role. And Andrews is telling him that he hopes this is a clear opportunity, so let's it out. Andrews is saying something deep that we should be worried about. Why would he say this is the time for John Dramani Mahama to go all out for the people, the gays, the lesbians and gays, the LGBT and people? That's right. Why would he push John Dramani Mahama to do that?
But
it means they've discussed something. It means they've had that conversation. Definitely, for John Dramani Mahama to know Andrew Solomon for 8 years, to be enjoying his booty, to be sleeping in his house, to be enjoying his money, and he being at Mahama's book launch, should tell you that day in, day out, maybe in my mind, it tells me that they have discussed this, and John is saying, my brother, you wait. I'm just seizing for a good opportunity. Then, we passed that law. And gradually, he is working towards it. My concern is not what the book Andrews is talking about or writing on. My concern is about our sitting president, our caretaker president. Look, he wanted this opportunity. That's what this quotation tells me. And he started by changing the ministry's name. Mm-hmm. He pushed an activist there. And now, Andrews is saying, this is it, boy. Go for it.
Okay. Now the question
is, as a Christian,
do homosexuals, do they have rights? Do they have the right to life? Do they have the right? Because some people are saying that gay rights basically mean human rights.
everybody has a right to life, a right to security, a right to live their lives. Those are enshrined within the Constitution. Now, because they have the same rights as armed robbers, as Mami Efwa mentioned earlier. They have the same rights as prostitutes. Nobody, and I don't think anybody is pushing an agenda for somehow discriminating, quote unquote, against the right to life of homosexuals. Nobody. That is how they are by nature. There's a question of nurture and nature. But let's take the nature element there. Nobody at all. What we are saying is that their activities, and we're talking about the sexual act. That's the key thing here. The sexual act is not of any benefit. It is not godly. And we as a society want to protect ourselves, not just our children, but ourselves from these activities.
What is wrong if we allow them to live? To live in society.
Is anyone stopping them?
Nobody's stopping them.
Let me tell you something.
Nobody's stopping them.
Even you, as a fine gentleman, with your girlfriend, if you decide, if you decide to have sex in the open, I have the right to report you to the police. If the police sees any of such acts, they can arrest you. Though our constitution do not frown at a man making love to a woman. So they have their rights in the society. Nobody is fighting them. Nobody is going hunting, looking for gays and lesbians. Nobody is doing that. So at the end, they are still enjoying their freedom. But our major concern is the president's interest, is the NDC administration. Their interest in this gayism and lesbianism is worrying.
The seeming attempts to legitimize it within the Ghanaian society.
It is worrying. If you look at the way things are going on, look at the way day in, day out you hear thousands, hundreds of people have had a car crash here, fire outbreak there. Look at it. Ask yourself, what is wrong? Because we have a leader who is not straightforward. We have a leader who cannot stamp his authority. We have a leader who keeps lying to the people. We have a leader who does not believe in the people. His leadership is over. He has no belief in the Ghanaian people. We have a leader who believes that Andrew Solomon is far better than those who did Keke.
Okay, now here's something that you need to address your mind to, and I'm sure that most people have not actually paid attention to this sentence. But listen, the only way I may have, and I want you to pay attention to this word, the only way I may have influenced him on gay rights was by welcoming him into the household of a joyful family with 2 dads.
So instructive. And I'm glad you asked the viewers to pay attention. He said the only way he may have influenced him is when he welcomed him to his home to see a family, his kids with 2 dads. Yeah, that tells you, Nana, that John Dramani Mahama
has accepted.
He gave out feelings or communicated an acceptance of that kind of family unit. And he was in agreement with it. Because if definitely John Dramani Mahama turned his nose up, squeezed his face and said, how come there are 2 men here? He would not have said that. The only way I've influenced him is to show him that, yes, this kind of abnormal family unit is something that pleased him as opposed to displeased him. And it is instructive. That's why he said, sometimes they say birds of a feather flock together. He said, well, as soon as he saw him, he liked him immediately. He liked him immediately.
What shows that?
You enter somebody's house.
Don't forget, bisexuals are part of
You enter somebody's house.
My concern is the bisexual.
You enter somebody's house, a whole homosexual.
And Andrew plays the feminine side.
Straight away, you are pleased with what you see. If I enter somebody's house and I'm seeing that everybody's prostitutes, Charlie, I'm leaving there straight away. Well, I'm seeing that they're all armed robbers. Charlie, I'm leaving there.
With them.
I won't be comfortable.
That's why,
I won't be comfortable in any way, shape, or form. Which is why we have to sit up. What we are discussing here is really beyond politics. It is really about nation building or nation destroying. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Okay. So the passion seems to be very high among my panel. But really, we have an issue to deal with. Is Ghana going gay? I'll take another break, and when I come back, you can join the discussion. Welcome back to Minority Caucus. Tonight's issue is Ghana going gay? Unfortunately, we have had to let go of Mr. Ibrahim Ajay And so he's been ably replaced by Mr. Newton, Justice Abeko Ofe. Very welcome to you, sir.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Okay. Now, we've discussed a lot of the points, and Mami Efua is very passionate about it. I don't know what it is that you think or feel about this particular matter, as regards particularly the letter that Mr. Andrew Solomon has written to the people of Ghana and the world.
Good. I think the time is already far gone. I wouldn't take much time. But if you remember, last week we were here, and I made the point that Andrew Solomon's association with John Mahama, and for him to come out and deny was something that was not truthful on the part of the president. Because, and I use the analogy whereby you invite a friend, a very close pal to your home for a meal, and the pal comes, definitely there will be introduction as regards your wife and kids and all that. And according to the letter that Andrew Solomon has written, you know, it is stated somewhere in there that he invited John Mahama to his place in Manhattan, where he introduced the kids and 2 men in the house to John Mahama. So for him to have come out, you know, and told us that the relationship that was between himself and Andrew Solomon was something that had just started, was completely, you know, erroneous. And then from the letter that Andrew Solomon has written, it is also stated in there that the association of him, you know, the association between John Mahama and Andrew Solomon actually started 8 years back. And this takes us to somewhere around 2005. Yeah. You know, so you realize that he's someone that he is very, very known to Andrew Solomon. They are very close. He knows Andrew Solomon's sexual orientation. And so therefore, his association with him is probably the more reason why he's changed the name of the women ministry and added this gender protection. Because
okay, now I just want to announce the phone lines briefly for our viewers to join into the discussion. You can do that by 030221170124. I'll repeat the phone lines again. 030221170124. Mr. Newton, you may continue.
Right. Well, I was talking about this changing of name of women's ministry and adding gender protection and all that. You know, under women's ministry already, we have this DOFSU, you know, which is a bureau of the Ghana police, whereby children who face abuse in the homes, marital problems are all solved. So bringing in that social protection, you know, is something that is quite curious. And then again, the sexual orientation of the current sitting president also became an issue when he was nominated.
Okay. Yeah, if you would hold on a minute,
right.
Let's take the callers. Mohammed from Lebanon in Oshaman, you're welcome.
It's been quite a while after election.
Yeah.
Nana,
yes,
the issue about deism, the president and the vice president, I think is something which is an open secret to everybody. The allegation against the vice president was prior to his nomination as vice president, and not as if it's after. And if you look at Andrew's letter, he simply tries to appoint the president as an activist within the sub-Saharan enclave. And I think that's quite revealing. But I also advise my sister to keep calm when the other panel Newton is talking, particularly when Ibrahim was around, so we can listen to the issue very well.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. Patience from Kwashiman. Patience, how are you? Hello.
I'm fine, thank you.
Patience, can you please turn down the volume on your television set? Yes. Patience. Hello.
Yes.
Hello, Patience.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
I can hear you now.
Yes. I'd like to contribute to the program.
No problem.
I believe that it's obvious by now that our sitting president, in his book, the book that he's written, My First Coup d'etat, in my opinion, I think it is something that it was pre-planned and they have executed it so smartly that it's very unfortunate that many Ghanaians population, we have just a few of us who are educated. And so it's unfortunate we don't get people to really know what is happening on the ground. But I can say that he knows what he's about. The president and the government, the entire NDC government, they know what they are about. But it is my prayer that as this country is a Christian country, God will rise up and wipe out every bad leadership that will take this country astray.
Amen. The battle is still the Lord's. Patience. Abdul Rahman.
Hello.
Yeah, Abdul Rahman, you're my last caller. Are you happy?
Yes.
Okay.
Please, I want to know when the court will resume.
Okay, we'll address that before we leave the studios. Is that okay for you?
Okay.
You have nothing to say on our current discussion? Okay, Mr. Newton.
Yeah, well, I was talking about the certain vice president's sexual orientation. When he was nominated, the issue came up, and the gentleman popped up and came and told us about how, as far back as, you know, in the mid-60s, he was going out with the president during their school days at Mfansipim. And when the vice president was went before the parliamentary vetting committee, that issue came up. And they put it to him that the gentleman says he comes to pick him up, you know, during working hours. When the vice president's wife is not at home, he takes the man home and they go and do their own thing in their garage. And you know what the vice president said at the vetting? He said that, well, he lives in his house, but he doesn't remember whether the house has a garage. And that when the issue came, he had to call a family meeting for his children to remind him, you know, of the fact that where he lives, the house that he has built with his own resources has what we call it, a garage. You see, so from there you realize that this group of people who are in our nation's leadership at the moment are people who are not truthful, people who are not straightforward, and people who are seriously in bed with sexual perverts. And you see, you were talking about the Black Stars earlier on. I have never seen, you know, in my entire life, the Black Stars representing Ghana and people are not enthusiastic. I've never seen it. Never. It has never happened before.
With Nigeria.
You understand? Black Stars playing, you know, on the international stage, and you walk around in Ghana and everybody, you don't see anybody, you know, being passionate about the Black Star. You don't see people carrying the flag like it is normally done. And these are effects. The Bible says that when the wicked rule, the people mourn. Okay. And there is serious mourning going on in our nation. Okay. I think we need to pray seriously.
Thank you very much.
For a wrap up, we should look at. Okay. Andrew Solomon said that this was the first time a prominent figure, and it's so shameful, a sitting member of parliament attended a wedding of gays.
What was that?
Yeah, he said even though there have been media reports of gay groups organizing weddings and parties in some part of the country, it seems to be the first time
a well-known figure.
That a well-known figure, Jesus Christ, means the president adores such gathering. He did not just go into the gathering by mistake. He knew what he was doing. And it is sad. And it is the reason why most Ghanaians are mourning. Most Ghanaians are not happy within. You know, to be honest with you, the spirit of this country is down.
Okay. Mr. Newton, 30 seconds to wrap up.
From us. It's gone far from this country. And you ask yourself, what is happening until Supreme Court's justice? The true, look, another name for God is justice. Okay. The God of justice. Until he prevails. And I know the battle is his and he will prevail. This dark cloud, Jesus Christ.
It will not prevail. Mr. Newton, 30 seconds.
In the letter of Andrew Solomon, he stated in there that the wedding at which he first met John Mahama in his life, yes, he Andrew Solomon was with his husband to be.
John Hobbit.
John Hobbit, and that husband is a man.
Okay.
And I believe introduction would have been made,
okay,
you know, to the sitting president. So there and then, the sitting president
are part of this.
The sitting president would have
this lobby's, I mean, achievements. Bisexuals are part of his achievements.
Clearly,
all
my
over
panel.
The country, he does not promote only gayism or lesbianism. Bisexuals, those who sleep with women and men.
Okay.
And his interest, his attraction, that day, 8 years back, in John Dramani Mahama has never dwindled.
Okay.
It rather keeps increasing.
All right.
Interest.
Clearly, this is a
Compound
very
interest.
passionate subject. Clearly, the majority of Ghanaians are intrigued by this. Clearly,
a woman who has had a crush on John Dramani.
Clearly, we have an unfolding story.
He's
and
had a crush on
I, personally,
John Dramani Mahama.
will appeal to you, whatever your faith is, that let's go down on our knees and cry to the living God. We have a God that listens. We have a God that heals.
He should not destroy the nation.
We have a God that will listen to our cry as he has done in times past and come to our salvation. For us, this is not a call on anybody to go out there and perpetrate violence. If you know homosexuals, please do not take up weapons and attack them. If you do that, you stand the risk of being prosecuted. However, as I have always said, go down on your knees and lift up your voice to the Almighty God, whatever your faith is. And we know and believe that the good God will intervene in these affairs. God rules in the affairs of men. He's king and he continues to be king. This is how we'll end Minority Caucus for today. Join us on Wednesday for more interesting discussions. Until then, the battle remains the Lord. Let's keep making it his.